last couple of days, we worked hard to get the roster to 53 and kind of set the practice squad. There's a lot of moving parts. Some of it's still ongoing, as we speak. What's good this year, what's been nice is just having that additional week. Buys us a little more time as things kind of settle in with our team. I want to give a lot of credit to our scouts and our coaches kind of as we've gone through this process. I think this is when I feel our continuity as a staff as we have these discussions and we kind of come together as a roster. So every decision we make is what's best for our team as we work through this. I want to especially thank the players. A lot of those conversations have been tough, as you can imagine. Their hard work, their dedication is respected, it's appreciated, and we wish them nothing but the best as we go forward. So with that, guys, I'm sure you have a lot of questions, and I'll be happy to take them.
Ryan, a couple questions about injured reserve. First of all, what's the situation with Danny? What sent him to IR?
Yeah, with him, he's had a knee that's kind of been bothersome this camp. And our plan, especially, Dan, with these IR rules being pretty flexible for us, go ahead and get him on there and let him kind of take his time, make sure he's 100% before we put him out there. So we're just kind of working through that, make sure we get him 100%. It's what's best for him. It's what's best for us.
Tevin officially winds up there. There's been a bit of a lack of clarity on exactly when it happened, how it happened, what had happened. What can you shed light on in terms of what his situation is?
Exactly. So when he showed up for training camp, he started experiencing different symptoms that he never had in college. So we kind of worked through that. We tried to kind of go through all the natural processes. We went through that. At the end of the day, it did require a surgery. It was a common surgery. The good thing about it, as soon as we did it, those symptoms went away. So we feel good about it. There's a reason why we waited to put him on IR till today. It gives us the possibility to bring him back at some point this season.
From what you learned and what you've been told, the nature of his injury that required the surgery was different than what he experienced last year?
Yeah, so we knew everything about his back coming out, along with everybody knew. When we were strict with our medical through all that. So it was just the symptoms that he had was totally different than he ever experienced before. So there were new symptoms. We worked through it, and this was the end conclusion. And the good thing is, guys, just because he had back surgery doesn't mean he's not going to have a good NFL career. We're excited about the player, excited about where he's heading. Now we feel like we fixed the problem.
Ryan, even if you don't see that as a pre-existing condition, is it possible that other teams kind of red flagged him as a pre-existing condition? Is that maybe why he dropped from the first round to the second round in the draft?
Yeah, I think, Mark, we've always been really strict with our medical, probably more strict than ever this past year, especially with COVID and some of the restrictions that we had. So we took a ton of guys off our board for medical and character this past year. So we knew all about it. We were comfortable with it. And again, this is something, the symptoms were way different, and we feel like the issue's fixed, and hopefully it's something he can come back from this year. So we're excited about him going forward, and we feel like the problem's solved.
But do you think other teams saw it differently, and maybe that's the reason why he went from the first round into the second when he was available there?
I'm not sure on that. I'm not sure what other teams did. Obviously, when we go through the draft, we not only have our medical information, we share medical information with a lot of teams. And I can just tell you a lot of teams felt comfortable with it.
Ryan, what were some of those symptoms that you're talking about with Tevin?
Without getting into details, Adam, he started having some pain down his leg, I think just from the nerve. And so when you have the surgery, I think it can alleviate that symptom. And in fact, it already has. So he's in a really good place right now. And it's just positive steps going forward.
Ryan, you took two pretty big leaps of faith going into the offseason, not retaining your offensive tackles and your number one corner. Obviously, you had a plan for how you would go about replacing those guys in the draft for a tackle and then free agency with the cornerback position. As you head into the season today, how do you feel like that plan is coming to shape?
Yeah, what's neat about that, there's just a mixture of young guys and vets. So you think about the corner position with Kendall Vildor. Like, we're excited about where he's heading and how he's playing. Excited about Artie Burns. And then obviously Jaylon Johnson. He's going to be a really good player for us for a long time. That's not even getting into the nickels. And then with the offensive line, with Larry Borum, that's a guy, I know we've said it, but we had big-time grades on him, and he's been nothing but prove that since he's been here. And in the addition of Jason Peters, we talked about that a lot. Obviously, Juan has a lot of background with him, and, man, if anything, he's exceeded expectations already in a short time here. So we feel like with Jason Peters and Larry Borum, along, with our other tackles, we feel pretty good.
Ryan, does Peters seem like he can play? Would you feel confident?
Yeah, it's exciting, Jeff. It is. He's working back into football shape. He knows that. So we're being smart with that. But if you just watch his foot quickness and how he moves, his technique, his experience, he's just a savvy vet that's still moving very well. So I think that's a credit to the athlete he is and just keeping himself in good shape.
What was the timeline with Jason Peters in terms of when you kind of knew that was an option that you wanted to pursue?
And we have a ready list up there, at all times. So we kind of know who's on the street and we know who we could potentially trade for. We kind of worked through that. So we talked about him a lot. We kind of kept tabs on it. And then once we knew Kevin was going to have the surgery, that's when we said, okay, let's go ahead and explore this.
Ryan, with Justin Fields, from where you sit, is he further along than you thought he'd be at this time? And what does that do to the plan?
Honestly, he's really not. Like, for us to move up and take him where we did, how we feel about him. So I think he's exactly what we thought he was going to be. He's exactly where we hoped he would be. So I don't think it changes our plan at all. I know the fans are excited, and we're excited too.
Ryan, there's obviously a lot of collaboration that went into putting together that plan. From your vantage point, what are the biggest pluses for Justin in being able to have this longer on-ramp and being able to start in a backup role?
Yeah, you guys know, especially playing quarterback in the NFL, there's so much that goes into that, and so much different than you'd even see in the preseason. Just the weekly preparation, seeing NFL defenses in the regular season, and all those things. And I just think the more time he has to learn that and observe that, the better off for him.
Ryan,
Ideally,
from what you've
ideally,
seen
how
from-
long would you like him to sit? How much say do you have in the decision when we will actually see Justin Fields?
Yeah, we haven't even really got started in the regular season yet. So, our plan is, Andy's our starter, and we're rolling with that, and I don't think anything's deviated from that as we've gone forward. We like that room from 1 to 3. When I think about Andy and Justin and then Nick, that's a strong room from 1 to 3. I think a lot of teams would want to have that.
From
Ryan,
what you've
what's the
seen
way you
from
see it?
Justin during the preseason, if Andy wasn't playing up to expectations, would you feel comfortable with Justin being a starter?
Those are all hypotheticals. Like, I feel like Andy is playing well, and I think there's so much that goes into it. There's so many variables. I know Matt said that in the preseason play, who's out there, what are the conditions, the continuity of the starters. What we've seen from Andy this whole offseason throughout practices, and all the different situations we put him in, we feel good about where Andy is. So we're not going to get into hypotheticals, but we like our plan.
What stood out to you about what Justin's done since he's been here,
especially in preseason action?
Yeah, for me, we obviously knew about the arm talent, the athleticism, the work ethic, all those things. But when you get him out there in an NFL environment and he stays calm in the moment, I think his heart rate stays low, he processes fast, he goes through progressions. I think you feel like you see a lot of young quarterbacks who kind of stare down an intended target. You see him working through his progressions, which I think is really good to see from a young quarterback.
Why do you think starting at backup won't derail that progress that he's made, and not getting the same amount of reps will change anything?
I just feel like we're just in a good position with Andy. It starts with how we feel about Andy, and we're very confident in him and where he's at. So there's no need for us to rush Justin.
Ryan, if Justin is the future of the franchise at quarterback, and the coach is saying he's ready to play, how is it not in the best interest in the long term of the franchise to start the process of Justin playing and learning?
Because we feel Andy's in a good place too. You know what I mean? So it'd be different if we didn't feel that way. We feel Andy's in a good spot too. Like, we're confident in Andy, and there's a lot of things with Andy. I know we've talked about it before, but his experience, he's won a lot of games in this league. His decision making, his intangibles, his leadership, all the things that he's doing. There's so many veteran players that have come up to me and made comments about Andy Dalton and what he's doing in practices, in the locker room, in the huddle, all those little things that I think we're going to see pay off as we get into the season. So it's more about Andy right now. We're excited about Justin. I'm more excited than anybody, but we're just going to let this thing play out.
Ryan, when you brought in Justin, what we heard was that you guys were going to know when Justin's ready. By all indications, it seems that you're confident in where Justin is. Is it wrong to think this seems to be setting up for whenever Andy isn't ready? Is it setting him up to fail in this spot?
I think we'll know when we know. Right now, I think we have a positive outlook. And that positive outlook goes off of what we've seen here every day with Andy. And that's Andy going to be leading our offense as Justin's progressing at the right rate. Our goal all along, guys, has been to win games with Andy and look over on that other field and see and look at this guy we got right here. Look at the future of this franchise that we have right here. That's the goal, and we haven't changed from that.
Ryan, are you comfortable with having 3 quarterbacks on the roster? And does having Foles on there, the longer it goes, does that kind of hamstring you a little bit as far as versatility, salary cap wise, roster wise, everything?
Yeah, it's new for us, Mark. We usually had 2 on the active and 1 on the practice squad, but again, I go back to just having that kind of talent at that room, and from 1 to 3. And I think Foles provides a lot for that room too. And we think about the growth of Justin, and not just what Andy provides in the room, but what Nick provides in the room. He brings a different perspective on a lot of things. Nick's a professional, has seen a lot of things in this league, so we like having him in our building and him in that room for sure.
So if that runs all season, you're good with that? I mean, it's
100.
not predicated on him, other team trading for him or needing him?
Yeah, we'd be fine with that all season, Mark.
Ryan, were you expecting Cohen to be ready by now, and did he have any setback in his recovery?
It's day by day. So he goes to reserve PUP, which so I believe he's out the first 6 games under that transaction, and we just got to take it day by day with him. He's working his tail off, and he's such a heartbeat of our team. He's in all the meetings. You guys see him at practice every day, and it's just going to be a natural progress with him. I feel like he's getting better, but we just got to take it day by day.
How do you feel about Damian Williams and some of the other options that can fill in?
For sure. We love the running back room. We love, from Montgomery to Damian Williams to Khalil Herbert, to the guys we put on our practice squad. We think that room's a strength of our team.
Robbie, did you repeat a cleanup operation at all? Did he have another operation beyond the original ACL fix?
Yeah, I don't want to get into the specifics of what he had done. We feel like he's got it fixed, and now it's just about him building that strength back up at the right rate.
Ryan, have you negotiated an extension with Akeem Hicks, and do you see that as a possibility?
Same thing with contracts, guys. I wish I could answer those questions. We won't get into that.
Ryan, when you look at the big picture of this roster, it's not completely done, like you said, you're always looking, you're always keeping things open, but what excites you most about the guys that you have right now?
Just, we've talked about it we've had a major competition throughout the team. And this is one of the hardest cuts we've had, and I go back to kind of what I'm excited about. It starts with our coaching staff. Really excited about the coaching staff, but just the talent we've naturally built throughout. And I was just talking to scouts about that as we were looking at some of these guys we could claim. And, it's kind of nice in the past. You look out there and we're talking about claiming 5, 6 guys, and we weren't in that position this year. And I think it's because we've built up talent throughout our team, a lot of depth throughout our team, a lot of competition throughout our team. So, inevitably when injuries occur, anything happens, I feel like we're ready for that this season.
Ryan, I'm going to ask you a contract negotiation question in a different way. With Roquan, he's representing himself, right? And how do you call him and ask for agent Roquan, or how does that, how would that communication even begin, or does he have somebody who's helping that you could?
I'm sure you have to ask Roquan. I'm sure he's working through that. I don't know what stage he is with the agent right now. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Ryan, Hicks was taken out of one practice, or left one practice and was late to another. He hasn't talked to us at all. Is any of this related, even if you can't talk details of the contract, is any of this related to his unhappiness with not getting a contract extension?
Yeah, I don't want to speak for him on that, Mark, but for me, for Akeem has been in an unbelievable place. How he's been as a teammate, how he's been in our building, the shape he's in right now, the effort that he's playing with right now has been awesome. So I think he's going to have a really big year. We're excited about that.
So that day he missed practice, what was that all about?
That feels like 6 months ago to me. So, I don't even remember.
Ryan, aside from a win total, what would you qualify as progress at the end of the 2021 season to give you an idea that you're heading in the right direction?
To me, it goes all back to winning football games and getting in the playoffs and winning when we're in the playoffs.
In regards to the quarterback position, what at the end of the year do you want to see from Justin to know that this year has been productive for him?
Just steady improvement every day, which he's doing. Every day he's improving. I mean, and I think it goes back to who we've surrounded him with too, who's in that quarterback room, the coaches that he has. I think you guys know he's in a great environment to grow as a quarterback, and it's happening at a rapid pace right now. We're excited about that.
Ryan, what gives you confidence the guys you have in the nickel position right now?
Yeah, that's been a steady competition throughout. So and they're different. I was just talking to Coach Desai about that as we kind of worked through it. They're different. Duke to me is scrappy, tough, instinctive. Marquis athletic and versatile. He can play safety too. So they're kind of different flavors, and maybe there's scenarios where we can use all of them. So I think it's been a good competition. It's made them both better. And I think the good thing about with our with our defensive coordinator, I think we'll put those guys in advantageous positions.
Ryan, I think Kendall Sone, you maybe caught a lot of people by surprise in Birchman last season. From your perspective, evaluating each week, what stood out about the way that he developed and got to this point is looks like a starter right now?
He plays with so much confidence, and he's just well-rounded. He's got ball skills, he has speed, he has man cover ability, he has zone awareness. I just think, when I think a lot of those mid-round picks from Bilal to Mooney to Kendall, like, that's a credit to our scouts, and he's one of those guys. Eddie Jackson, he's one of those guys that I think the scouts did a really good job on, and he's getting better. He works his butt off. This game means a lot to him, and I think we're going to continue to see an ascending player.
Ryan, what did you see from Jaydon last season that excites you about him going into his second year?
He's had an awesome camp. He's probably had one of the best camps of any of our players, and he's taken on a leadership role. I can tell he feels way more confident just being vocal here. And again, he's also a well-rounded player. Like his ball skills, every practice jump out. The amount of interceptions he has, the amount of PBUs that he has. He's just got a really good feel for the game. He prepares extremely hard in the film room and also physically, just taking care of his body. And I think he's set up to have a really good year.
Ryan, when we talked to you 6 weeks ago, you sounded pretty optimistic about Robert Cohen. What have you seen from him in camp that leads you to think that this year can be different than last year?
Same thing, just the physical nature that he's bringing every single day, the effort, the relentless effort that he brings every single day. It's almost like we have to slow him down in practice because he's coming so close to the quarterbacks on every snap. But I think he's really kind of gotten in his role. He understands what his role is. I think Coach Shuey's done an unbelievable job with him. I think last year I said it was hard on a lot of us, a lot of our players too. You get here, there's no fans. We really can't congregate as a team. And I think he knows his teammates a lot better now. He knows his coaches a lot better now. I think he's really comfortable on and off the field, and I think we're seeing it. We're seeing that out there right now.
When you sat down in the offseason to try and figure out how to make it better, like, what role did his usage play in terms of how often he goes out there?
Yeah,
how did he change?
Yeah, he's a smart player, a veteran player that's had success in the league for a long time. So, he has a voice in all that, and we were able to sit down as a staff with him, Coach Asai, his position coach, and Matt, and just talk about how do we maximize this player. And I think that's what great coaches do, right? They find out what these players' strengths are, and they put them in the most advantageous positions, and I feel like we're going to do that with him.
Ryan, August was obviously not an ideal month on the offensive line. I'm curious how you get that feeling of confidence and security back after a month that had a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, and I feel like, luckily we feel like we do have some depth there, and even going back to last season, Dan, a lot of those guys had to play, which helped us. Juan, to me, is maybe the best developer of talent in the NFL, and at his position, it's awesome. So, we put mid-round picks in there, late-round picks in there that have gotten a lot better because they've been forced to play a lot. So, and I think that's going to pay dividends. But with what we've done right now, I mean, Jason Peters, I think we were fortunate there, to be honest. But to see how far Larry Borum's coming, we got a Fetty back, Pig Simmons, Elijah Wilkinson, Alex Barrs is versatile on the inside. The other thing I like with our offensive line is I feel like they've all really settled into their roles. In the past, some of those guys have been moving around. Whitehair's had one of the best camps that I think he's had. I think it's because he's been right there at left guard throughout. What Sam provides at center with his intelligence, football IQ, getting this lined up, that's paid dividends. So we feel good about it.
Ryan, how close is Borum, and is he better than you thought? I mean, is he closer to Jenkins than their draft status was? It just seems one seems really.
No, we had them graded close. We did, and I think Larry played. He's lost a lot of weight since he played at Missouri. So now what I think you're seeing is a guy with a former basketball background, really athletic feet, playing almost 40 pounds lighter than he played in college and moving a lot better. So he's extremely talented. So to be honest, yeah, he probably has exceeded expectations a little bit because he looks so athletic with that weight loss. And I think he's shown his mark that he can play on either side, which is only going to pay off going forward.
So if Peters has issues, conditioning, whatever, is Borum a legitimate candidate to start?
Yeah, he's legitimate. We like him. We like where he's at.
Ryan, what role did a player's vaccination status play in roster decisions, if any?
Honestly, it didn't play any role. For us, it was just to keep the best players for our team and win football games.
How do you feel like the organization as a whole has handled that?
We feel good about it. We have open conversations with them. We feel good about where we are overall with that right now. So I feel like between myself, Matt, Andre, we've done a good job communicating with them, and they've done a good job with it.
Right. It's a practical matter, though. If you were to bring in somebody off the street who's unvaccinated, that's 5 days before they can come in. How will you have to weigh that if you're going to need somebody in the middle of the season?
For us, like what comes down, it always comes down, we're just going to bring in the best players and we'll work through that process. But for us, it's just we just keep it simple, just bring in the best players, keep the best players. That's what we're doing.
Right, with given this extra week and also the expanded practice squad, how much more cushion does it give you in moving parts around, having both of those things to kind of play around for a week and then also have more spots to stash guys?
Yeah, you have a little bit more time to do that, Dan. I feel it right now. So it's you feel crunched normally, right, this time of year, and you're practicing for the Rams and you're getting ready to go. Having this buffer gives us a little bit more time to do some of these things that are still ongoing. I mean, you guys can look at our practice squad numbers. It's not all the way set yet. It's because a little bit about what you're talking about is going on. So we're up there actively working it, looking at the different players, looking at different scenarios, improving every area. Because we look at our 16th practice squad and you think we were talking about the first player in the draft. Like it's every decision is like that.
And Ryan, Brashad Perriman's name wasn't on the list that was released today, but his agent says he's coming here. That's happening?
He's working his way in right now.
What do you like about what potentially he could bring?
First thing, speed, big time speed. We've talked about him. I feel like every year we've gone back and looked at our grades. We got tons and tons of grades on him from all of our coaches and all of our scouts. I feel like we've talked about him every year, and that's been the one trait. I mean, he's big, he's 6'2", he can still run, and he's just continuing to add speed and explosiveness to this offense.
There's been a lot of turnover in that wide receiver room. With the exception of Anthony Miller, most of those guys were late-round picks. But why do you think they were unable to kind of realize the potential you saw in them? And what do you like about the guys that are in the room now?
Yeah, I look at that room, and I'm excited about the room. They've all got their variety of ways. And for us, when it comes to the draft picks, we're just gonna keep the best players, no matter what it is. And that goes back to me learning from Sean and Mickey in New Orleans on that. And for us, they all came here different ways too. A-Rob was a big UFA signing for us. Mooney was a mid-round pick for us. Goodwin. The way we acquired him this past offseason, there's a lot of buzz on him right now. So they all got here a variety of ways. We're excited about it. We're excited about the versatility in that room. We're really excited about the speed we've added to that room. There's a lot of explosiveness. Simba, who you guys saw we added today, is not only a good returner, but also a really good four-core special teams player. He's a really good gunner. He's really good on kickoff coverage. So I feel like we just added a lot of versatility to that room along with a lot of speed. They all got here a variety of ways.
Ryan, Daz Newsome and Thomas Graham didn't make the team, and they were 2 draft picks this year. What are you hoping that they work on and grow on the practice squad this year?
Yeah, that's what it is, just continued growth and development. We talk about that. For us to be successful as an organization, it's drafting the right guys and then develop them as when they get in our building. And those guys are going to have to grow and develop, and the practice squad is a perfect opportunity for that. I think when I think about development, a guy like Jesper Horsted jumps out in my mind. The way he came in here, the transition to tight end. And so it's our scouts identifying him, us creatively thinking about that change in position, and then our coaches busting their tails to develop him. And, as hard as the last few days have been, talking to every one of these players, those conversations with guys like Jesper or Caleb Johnson, those are the really good moments.
Ryan, what has made the biggest impression on you as far as the way Matt has handled the quarterback situation and everything?
Yeah, just with honesty and transparency with all the players and how he's approached it. He's very hands-on with that position, as you know. That's kind of his baby. And yeah, so it's just he's been very open and honest with all 3 quarterbacks. I think he's done a really good job. I was looking at the percentage of play time a lot of these younger quarterbacks have gotten in the preseason. I was happy that Justin got a lot of play time this preseason, which I think is going to pay off for us.
As a quarterback situation ensues, do you prefer to kind of stay out of it? And, if there's a decision to be made, or do you feel like it's your responsibility to nudge him one way or another? How will you handle that?
What's awesome about that is we're together obviously more than we are with our wives. So there's constant conversations, constant talk. So whether it's the quarterback or the long snapper or the 16th practice, every decision that we make, we're making together. We're talking through it together. So it's just natural and organic as we talk about these things, including the quarterback decisions.
Ryan, when you have an offseason where you have to let some talented players go for financial reasons, and you draft a quarterback with a plan in mind that he takes over next season, what's your best case scenario for this season in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, best case scenario is to win games with the roster that we have. We feel like we can. We feel like we've gotten strong in a lot of areas. We feel like we have increased competition in a lot of areas. So I don't know exactly what your question is, but we believe we can win games with Andy and then grow Justin at the right rate.
When you look at your 53, kind of related to what Jason's asking, what do you see as the ceiling for this group?
I don't want to put a ceiling on it. Like, I love the chemistry of this team. I love the makeup and character of this team right now. I can already feel it. I felt it throughout camp. I love the way this whole thing's come together. I love our coaching staff. And now we just got to prove it. I can sit up here and talk about this all day. Now, here we are. Regular season's approaching. Now we got to prove it.